Hello, this is Joan Childs. I am Joan Childs, and welcome to my 7th video on inner child work. Before I begin what I want to talk about today, which is parts work, I just want to mention something from video 6, which was really about our emotions. And I want to be able to provide you with a new piece of information that I didn't have access to at the time, because this particular movie had not been released until after I had made the video. It's called Inside Out. It's part 2. It's a cartoon. It's for both adults and teenagers and even some children. It's about our emotional makeup and how it manifests into our mental health system. It didn't have what it has now, which is the feeling of anxiety. And they added that because I guess in today's world with such stress and such a world of technology that's moving so fast in so many different areas in our lives that are being affected negatively, from politics to the environment to the economics, health systems. It's just kind of like important to acknowledge so many people who are suffering from anxiety that maybe many years ago it was always there, but it was not as rampant as it is today. So I want to suggest that you watch Inside Out to see the kaleidoscope of emotions that now include anxiety. Okay, so let's talk about parts work, which is today's presentation on what I do with it, how I insert it, how it becomes incorporated in my work with inner child work with my clients. The concept, of course, is that we're not monolithic. We're not just the person that I'm standing here and speaking to you. This is the therapist and the presenter that's inside of me. And there's other parts too. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a therapist, a presenter, or an author. I have a glamour girl that lives inside of me, or a Barbie doll. And they each come out of different situations. So certainly, I'm much different when I get dressed to go to the opera or go to a play, or much different when I'm at a party. I'm much different when I'm with my grandchildren. I'm much different in my presentation when I do a presentation on inner child work to an audience. So we dress differently, look differently, talk differently, behave differently, and that's because we have different parts. You will have it, I have it, we all have it. It's part of the human experience. So how is it used in inner child work? To really know ourselves and to really be able to help ourselves to move forward and make changes, which is not easy. Change is very difficult. We're creatures of habit, number one, and there's a piece that maybe we don't really have what we call a free will, like we always thought we did, because so much of our free will had been taken away from us as children when we grew up in such dysfunctional family systems. And all families are dysfunctional to a greater or lesser degree. But the ones that are really difficult, the ones that were really damaged us as we were children, innocent, unable to protect ourselves, and really not knowing what to do, the ones that were physically abused, emotionally abused, sexually abused, intellectually abused, and verbally abused, abandonment, neglect, and abuse affected us in ways that didn't give us an opportunity to really effectuate our free will. So in order to change, we need to be determined to make the change. It has to come from our own volition, our own will. It wasn't free any longer once we were damaged. So knowing that it's hard, some of the work we do that's under the umbrella of inner child work is parts work. We need to find a way to know all the parts that live inside of us, which we really need and we must embrace, including the dark side that Carl Jung talked about, the shadow side. because as a human being, we all have one. The goal is to negotiate, to embrace that dark side, recognize it, otherwise it'll keep kicking us in the ass. So we need really desperately to get in touch with that part, to negotiate with that part, to find out what its intention is. Why does it behave the way it does? Why do I keep making the same poor choices over and over again? Because it's just familiar? Because it certainly isn't comfortable. So this parts work is essential in really resolving some of our inner conflicts that came from the dysfunctional family that were imposed upon us when we were so innocent and unable to protect ourselves. So how do I do it? I make a list of the parts. We're to recognize, because we're not monolithic. Think of us as an apartment building, and we have tenants, and we need each of them because we've got to collect the rent. And the best way to do it is to get to know them and to have some kind of a relationship with them that's positive, so we don't have to worry about whether the rent's going to be paid. So we do the same thing with the parts that live inward in us. We have negotiations. We do it through chair work, which was really done in the episode that I did prior to this one, the video number 6, where I talked about Gestalt work or chair work, putting that part in the chair and having a talk with it and finding out, why are you doing this? What's going on? How can I work with you? What do you need from me to negotiate to keep me safe rather than to keep me harmed? And so this negotiation is so important that Gestalt work is very, very useful. It's one of the most effective tools that we have when we're doing inner child work. So basically, the therapist needs to really be certified in Gestalt work if she's going to use it or he's going to use it. There are other modalities too, of course. There's neurolinguistic programming, EMDR, hypnosis. One of the movies that I'm going to recommend in this video is Love and Death. Not Woody Allen's Love and Death, but one that was made, I think, a true story, based on a true story that occurred in a city called Wiley, Texas. I don't remember who this cast is, but you can look it up. It's an amazing film that illustrates how our parts that are unknown to us, particularly the dark side, the shadow side, as Carl Jung talked about, how it can emerge under certain circumstances. We are all capable of murder, even though we don't like to think that. But if something should happen where somebody attacks us or one of our children, we are capable, if we know how to kill, we are capable of doing it. Whether it's whether it's a weapon or whether it's something that was probably a weapon, obviously. So it's my reason for having this video today is so that you will recognize that you are made up of parts, and the whole is really greater than the sum of our parts. We already know that. So I would recommend that if you're going to do inner child work, you would have a therapist that will be able to work with you with parts work that was probably invented or innovated by Hal Stone and Virginia Satir, mostly back in the maybe in the 70s, even in the 60s. But it didn't come to really emerge until the inner child work became so powerful and so well known through the resource of John Bradshaw, who brought it to public television, and I brought him to Miami Beach and Fort Lauderdale 2 times. And the recovering community recognizes how important that work is, and certainly helps people go through recovery much easier than just AA, which is just as essential actually, but it is not therapy. It's really a program that supports the recovering community with the 12 steps, which is essential also. But in therapy, this parts work is also essential. So I just gave you a 10-minute discussion on parts work, and I will be presenting another video, video number 8, in another week, and I hope to see you then again. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joan Childs. Stay safe and be well. Bye now.